Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. Jen Psaki continues to make the case. And now, of course, clearly you know Jen Psaki isn't making these great points and making a great case for any cause that she's representing. Obviously, scratch that option almost immediately. Jen Psaki is making the case for why she is the worst White House press secretary of all time. You know, there's this concept that we very often refer to known as self-awareness. Being aware of who you are, where you stand, your own faults. Being self-aware, aware of oneself. Well, Jen Psaki continues to represent an absolute lack of self-awareness. But it's one thing to just have a lack of self-awareness, it's another to publicly criticize others of essentially exactly what you're guilty of. It's a lack of self-awareness and of course it's projection. Jen Psaki taking some heat in the media this week for essentially implying that Fox News' Peter Doocy is a quote, stupid son of a b, which is one thing, the media's running with it, it's a headline, the faux outrage over the language, how dare she? But what I find much more frustrating, what I find much more annoying is the lack of self-awareness in pretty much everything else that she said, and that's what I want to talk about. Let's point out the irony, the hypocrisy in what Jen Psaki recently said. But of course, before we get into any of it, please make sure to leave a like, a comment, subscribe, share the video as much as possible. We are still shadow banned by the YouTube algorithm, hidden from non-subscribed viewers. And with that out of the way, let's roll the tape. Alright folks, so first off, let's start off with the context. We all know months ago, Peter Doocy asked Joe Biden a question about inflation, and Joe Biden responded by calling Peter Doocy a stupid son of a b.
What do you think President on inflation that? Do you think inflation is a political liability?
That's a great asset. More inflation. What a stupid son of a...
And so that was the context behind the quote, and then this happened during an event called Pod Save America.
Okay.
Is he a stupid son of a or does he play a stupid son of a on TV?
Okay. He works for a network
Okay.
that provides people with questions that nothing personal to any individual, including Peter Doocy, but might make anyone sound like a stupid son of a...
And again, I don't even want to focus on the ad hominem attack or whether or not the attack was truly lobbed at Peter Doocy or Fox News. I want to focus on the words here, the hypocrisy. She claims that Peter Doocy works for a network that provides him with questions or talking points that make him or would make anyone sound like a stupid son of a b. You guys already sensing the irony? Because it hit me right away like a ton of bricks. Jen Psaki, mouthpiece for the Biden administration, who receives talking points from the Biden White House, having to justify some of the most ridiculous things you could possibly imagine. White House provided talking points and rhetoric that would literally make anybody seem like a stupid son of a b. Well, Jen Psaki literally is that person. I've made easily 20, probably even more than 20 videos on Jen Psaki alone. We've covered basically all of the nonsense that's come out of her mouth. She is in no position to criticize anybody for pushing nonsense talking points. And I mean, we don't even need to go that far back, literally last week. This is Nancy Pelosi and this is Joe Biden. This is what you would consider close contact now, isn't it? And why does that matter, you may ask? Well, literally the next day, Nancy Pelosi tests positive for the coof after being in very close proximity. Some may even say up in Joe Biden's grill, and of course without any protective gear. And when questioned about this, Jen Psaki responded like this.
Thanks, Jen. How can you guys say that President Biden was not a close contact with Speaker Pelosi when there is video of the speaker kissing him?
Well, Peter, the way that it is defined is by the Center for Disease Control, the CDC, and their definition of it is 15 minutes of contact within a set period of time and within 6 feet. It did not meet that bar.
She literally pulled out some nonsense definition of what close contact really means and claims that Nancy Pelosi was not in close contact with Joe Biden. What? Talk about talking points that are being provided to you that make you sound like a stupid son of a b. Then going on to say that Kamala Harris wasn't actually maskless, even though, well, once again, the pictures speak for themselves. And it's been basically a year and a half of this same nonsense from Jen Psaki. I mean, her job, her title may as well be propaganda minister for the Biden White House. Joe Biden does something stupid and then her job is to walk up to the podium and essentially tell you that you're not actually seeing what you're seeing through some sort of incredible liberal gymnastics. I mean, it's insane stuff, but stuff that we see from the left all the time. I just want an excuse to show you guys this little interaction on Twitter. We all know this video of Joe Biden, which we've spoken about the last couple of days, where Joe turns around and shakes an invisible person's hand, a clear sign of dementia. Well, here come the left-wing fact-checkers. Danish Manzoor Bot on Twitter writes, "So no, Joe Biden wasn't shaking some imaginary hand. He was gesturing at the people on the right and eventually behind him who were cheering. See the full video in my next tweet and skip to the end." To which Andrew at Don't Walk Run Productions writes, "Biden made gestures that looked like he was looking to shake someone's hand who wasn't there, and your quote, fact check concluded that he didn't. You're not a journalist, you're an idiot." And while of course this is off topic, this is essentially the same kind of stuff that we've been getting from Jen Psaki all year. Standing up on that podium with a total straight face, saying stuff like printing trillions of dollars won't be bad for inflation. In fact, massive government spending is somehow going to bring inflation down. Jen Psaki for the last year and a half has done nothing but have to justify all of the misdeeds, all of the missteps, has had to justify one of the most failed presidents in American history. And she's out here criticizing Fox News and Peter Doocy for looking dumb, asking, frankly, great questions. Actual questions the American people want answered. Not all the fluff, BS, mainstream bias questions, but real questions. And really just baseline, the whole premise is ridiculous. This whole thing started with Joe Biden calling Peter Doocy a stupid son of a bee. Well, apparently the Democrat standard or the White House standard for being a stupid son of a bee, according to Jen Psaki and according to Joe Biden, is asking these terrible bias Fox News questions about inflation. Mr. President, when are you going to address inflation? The American people want to know. Jen Psaki calls that individual a stupid son of a bee, while she's out here telling you that government spending and trillions of dollars in money printing is going to bring inflation down. Oh, I almost forgot. Here's another great example. Here's a word-by-word transcript between Peter Doocy and Jen Psaki recently. Peter Doocy asks, "You say that you're going to do everything you can to reduce the impacts that high gas prices have. We're asking other countries to think about pumping more oil. Why not just do it here?" Psaki insists, "Federal policies are not limiting the supply of oil and gas. Let me finish." Peter Doocy then responds, "An executive order his first week halted new oil and gas leases on public lands. Let me give you the facts here. And I know that can be inconvenient, but they're important." I mean, how condescending and self-righteous. There are more than 9,000 approved permits not being used. And then, of course, on April 15th, Biden's Interior Department announces it will officially restart onshore oil and gas leases on federal lands on Monday. So who is pushing the nonsense talking points? Is it Peter Doocy or is it Jen Psaki? The answer seems quite clear to me. And even to take it one step further, who's pushing more fake news, bias nonsense? Is it Fox News or is it CNN? Brian Stelter seems to have an opinion.
Brian, obviously Peter Doocy has been at times a thorn in the side of Jen, but doesn't that come with the territory?
It does come with the territory, and I think the point she's trying to say there is that Fox pushes storylines that are sometimes nonsense. Doocy does that in the briefing room.
Is it Fox News or is it CNN? Well, even a first-year college student knows the answer to that one.
You've all spoken extensively about Fox News being a purveyor of disinformation. But CNN is right up there with them. They pushed the Russian collusion hoax. They pushed the Jussie Smollett hoax. They smeared Justice Kavanaugh as a rapist, and they also smeared Nick Salmon as a white supremacist. And yes, they dismissed the Hunter Biden laptop affair as pure Russian disinformation.
I tend to have a pretty strong BS meter. And man, was that thing going off, and I mean ringing to the point where I had a headache after that one simple quote from Jen Psaki. Talk about a lack of self-awareness, pushing nonsense talking points that would make anybody look like a stupid son of a bee. I mean, that sounds like the definition of being the White House press secretary in the year 2022. That's what I got for you guys, though. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to leave a like, a comment, subscribe, share it as much as possible. We are still shadow banned by the YouTube algorithm, hidden from non-subscribed viewers. I'm going to get back to work. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.